The following video will show the character creation chapter in the rule book for Scarlet Heroes. Hopefully this will explain things in a manner that is coherent.
Your hero is a legend in the making, a soul marked by destiny for something greater than the petty fates of those around them. Whether by steel or spell or silver word, your hero has the potential to leave a burning name in the annals of their chroniclers and the songs of the bards. Every story has a beginning, however, and a freshly fashioned hero still has a great deal of growing to do. In this chapter, you'll learn how to take the first steps toward your hero's ultimate glory, and lay out the outline of their early years and most notable talents. The Path of Legend. A hero starts by rolling attributes. These 6 scores depict a hero's basic strengths and weaknesses, separating the mighty Theud from the pantherishly agile and the far-seeing from the luminously brilliant. All heroes are good at something, though some rely more on unbending determination than abundant gifts of nature. Next, you choose the race of the hero. Race in this game doesn't refer to human ethnicity, but instead to the species of the hero, whether they are human, or one of the demi-human species found in the forbidding world of the Red Tide. After you choose your race, you define your hero's best talents by picking a class. There are 4 different classes: Cleric, Fighter, Magic User, and Thief. Each class grants your hero certain special abilities and talents suitable for deeds of fearless daring. With your class chosen, you then pick traits. Traits are how you express your hero's individual talents and background, those things that your hero is especially good at doing. A hero might have the trait of escaped mine slave, with the skills and experience to be expected for one inured to brutal labor deep below the earth. Or she might be a skilled translator, capable of speaking all the common tongues of the Sunset Isles and most of the more esoteric ones as well. You choose your own traits based on your hero's background rather than picking from a particular list. With these 4 steps complete, all that's left are the final touches. You record your important statistics, note down your special class abilities or magical powers, and equip your hero with the trappings of their profession. Your hero is then ready to meet a world in dire need of their services, one rich with plunder for the taking and deeds that await their unquenchable ambitions. Words to remember. Scarlet Heroes is built to support a style of gaming commonly known as sandbox gaming. For this style of game to work, your hero needs to have at least one goal. A gifted young swordswoman might have the makings of a legend in her, but that's not going to happen unless she has some reason to leave her mundane life behind and seek something better. Your hero needs to have a purpose before he or she will be ready for adventure. This purpose may well change over time, of course, as a young hero's dreams are cruelly dashed by a foul nemesis, or as their tireless labors bring glorious victory. Or he may just be smitten by a pretty barmaid's smile and find himself neck-deep in trouble for it. His purpose might be something as simple as become fabulously wealthy and enjoy every coin of it, or as complex as overthrow the Shogun Rai and redeem his accursed land. It might even change from adventure to adventure. His GM needs to know this goal if they are to create situations that you'll find interesting. A hero will often find himself or herself faced with a wide variety of potential adventures or places worth exploring, and you'll need that goal to help direct your interest. A hero who simply sits back and waits for adventure to come to him is likely to have a tedious career of warming chairs, forever denied the opportunity to put his rump in a usurped and bright jeweled throne. If you're not sure what a good goal could be, just think about the kind of adventures you want to have. If you want to explore ruins and plunder the gold of dead kings, then a goal that revolves around pecuniary rewards or the unearthing of ancient secrets might serve. If you want to spar with courtiers in the palaces of perfumed nobles, then a goal focused on avenging some political slight might suit you. Don't hesitate to ask the GM for ideas or work with them to build a suitable ambition. For a single-player game, your goals become the focus of play. It's important to pick ones worthy of your deeds. Parallel your attributes. The first step in fashioning your hero is to generate their 6 attribute scores. Each score is measured in a range from 3 to 18, with high scores implying great talent or development, while low scores indicate a noticeable weakness. For each of the 6 attributes, roll 4d6, drop the lowest die, and add them together. You can swap these rolls around to different attributes if you have a particular sort of hero in mind. If no roll is 16 or better, pick an attribute and set it to 16. A hero is always remarkably good at something. Each score results in an attribute modifier from -3 to +3. This number is used whenever the attribute modifies a roll. Strength modifies the damage done by melee weapons, for example, so if your character has a strength of 13, you'd add +1 to your damage roll, along with any other rolls reliant on physical might. Strength is the measure of your hero's physical might. Strength is important for melee combatants, and so high strength is particularly useful for fighters. Intelligence reflects your hero's education, native wit, and learning ability. Intelligence is used to remember obscure facts and perform other feats of mental acuity. Magic users require a good intelligence. Dexterity denotes your hero's agility and reaction speed. It affects your character's dodging ability, use of missile weapons, and the performance of acrobatic maneuvers. Thieves have a particular need for a good dexterity, though all the classes have use for it. Wisdom reflects not only the hero's common sense and will, but also their perceptiveness. Clerics have need of a good wisdom score. Constitution is valuable for every hero, as it influences the amount of punishment a hero can take before they are dead or incapacitated. It also influences the hero's toughness and ability to shake off wounds and resist foul poisons. Charisma is also of broad usefulness to most heroes. It measures the character's force of personality and ability to influence others, whether or not they are particularly pleasing to the eye. Choose a race among the many intelligent species inhabiting the Sunset Isles. There are 5 that are most suitable for heroic adventures. Humans, elves, dwarfs, halflings, and show-blooded heroes are all potentially viable characters, though even stranger beings might be allowed by a GM for some sorts of campaigns. Humans are precisely what you might expect them to be. While the Imperials of Xi'an are the predominant type in the Sunset Isles, there are scores of different ethnicities and cultures crowded within the archipelago. The setting chapter discusses several of these cultures and communities, or you could make up your own with the permission of the GM. Humans are uniquely versatile among the Isle's inhabitants, with a cultural flexibility unknown to the other major races. Dwarfs are the people beneath the mountains, a race of subterranean humanoids that rarely exceed 5 feet in height. They spend their lives gathering gold in order to take its spiritual essence into the afterlife with them, and other races sometimes find it hard to distinguish this piety from simple greed. By ancient tradition, male dwarfs are forbidden from craft work and female dwarfs are denied mining or military roles, though some rebels are willing to suffer the social shame of adopting an improper role. Dwarfs can see even in complete darkness, though they light their halls for ritual reasons and to discourage their ancestral enemies who prowl dark ways. Elves were human once, long ago, until the proud sorcerer kings, who led them, conducted a great ritual that was to grant them immortality as gods. The ritual was flawed, and they and all their people were forever bound to the circles of the world. They do not grow old, and when an elf dies their spirit lingers for a time before reincarnating in an elven infant. Most of their memories fade with the process, but not all, and elves are sometimes possessed by the desire to complete goals that their former incarnations never managed to achieve. They organize themselves in creeds as groups of like-minded elves share similar philosophies or goals. Elves have very keen senses, and can see in starlight as well as a human can at midday. Halflings are a small and modest folk, much like humans who grow only to 4 feet in height. Most dwell in simple, rustic villages under the protection of some human lord, though a few incurable thrill-seekers love the chaos and excitement of human cities. Others are forced to leave their village when existing lands can no longer support them, venturing forth to establish a new home for their people. Halflings are unique in their absolute immunity to panic or terror. Even in the most chaotic situations, a halfling will remain level-headed and will act quickly and decisively. This cold-blooded calm makes them dangerous combatants, and most soldiers would sooner face a tribe of howling Sho than charge a pike square of grim halfling farmers. Sho are the hated natives of the Sunset Isles, the once dominant race on the islands of the archipelago. With the coming of the human exiles 300 years ago, they have been steadily pushed back into the western wilderness, despite the occasional explosive border war and a resurgence 2 centuries ago that nearly drove humanity from the Isles. While wild Sho are hated among all the human lands, many of them appear nearly indistinguishable from well-formed humans, and a few are able to pass without drawing notice. Others are half Sho, born of the brutal western fighting, the offspring of Sho slaves, or the product of those few villages where Sho-blooded communities eke out the best life they can. Sho have a natural gift for battling the red tide that encircles the Isles, and they have a strong resistance to its dark magics. Choose a class. The 4 classes. Now that you know what kind of hero you have, it's time to pick their class. A class grants your hero certain special abilities and determines their overall strengths and weaknesses. Not everybody has a class. Most ordinary men and women are no more than their profession would imply. Most soldiers aren't fighters, they are just soldiers, and they'll never ascend to the heights of fearsome prowess that a true fighter might someday scale. Your hero's experience in a class is measured in levels. A new character starts at level 1 and advances upward through completing adventures, defeating foes, plundering treasures, and otherwise accomplishing those ends befitting a daring adventurer. Classes are something for you, the player, rather than something for your character's self-conception. Characters don't walk around thinking of themselves as a 3rd-level fighter or a 5th-level thief. They consider themselves an Iron Garter pikeman, for example, or a veteran Xianese swordswoman. A magic user might have a self-conception as a forest witch or an urbane academy sorcerer. Tehi's characters might share similar game abilities, but they have very different styles of executing them. As your character develops and gains in experience, they might choose to dabble in a different class, gaining some new abilities at the cost of advancing in their other talents. For now, just decide what your character is best at doing, and choose that for your starting class. Other classes for heroes. The 4 classes presented here are meant to provide catch-all categories that cover the great majority of classic heroic character concepts. It's not really necessary to have a samurai class or an alchemist class when the fighter and magic user cover the abilities fitting to such heroes. You should pick a class to fit your character's greatest strengths and use traits and other background qualities to add any further flavor. Still, some GMS and players like to use more specific classes. You can use most classes from other OSR games with few or no changes in Scarlet Heroes, or invent your own classes to exactly suit a novel concept. The details of such a process are beyond the scope of this book, but most experienced GMS and players shouldn't have a hard time mixing and matching class abilities to fit. GMS shouldn't feel too much stress about this process. If a campaign is being built around a single hero, there's no worry that they might overshadow a more standard party mate. Just cut the cloth to fit the concept, and if it turns out that the abilities don't work well for the game, a GM can edit them between sessions. Class limits by race. In the Red Tide campaign setting, some classes are limited to certain races. In this world, there are simply no elven, dwarven, or halfling clerics, and no dwarven or halfling magic users. Humans and show-blooded heroes can belong to any class. Your GM may decide differently, however, and may choose to permit your hero to be something unusual among their people. It may also be that your GM is running a completely different world where these limits don't apply. When in doubt, check with them to see if there are any limits you should keep in mind. Here are 4 basic classes available in Scarlet Heroes. Your GM may include others built specifically for their campaign world, or if you're familiar with similar role-playing games you might include theirs. Clerics are divinely blessed minions of the gods, whether brave paladins of the celestial powers or tonsured shrine priests of a more meditative bent. They are capable combatants, but also can wield the blessings of their god in the form of magical spells. Choose this class if you want to wield a sword or hammer for a holy cause. Fighters are the classic warriors and swordsmen of fantasy fiction. THAY include not only the customary grizzled knights and hard-bitten mercenaries, but also well-born nobles, itinerant freebooters, pirates, bandits, aspiring peasant heroes, and all other characters that focus on combat skill and toughness rather than magic or special expertise. Choose this class if you want to be a fearsome warrior. Magic users are wizards, witches, sorcerers of every description, scholars of the occult, and any other hero who relies upon magic as their foremost tool. While the powers of a novice are limited, they can grow to be fearsomely mighty wielders of the eldritch arts. Choose this class if you want to cast spells and hurl magical bolts. Thieves are those heroes who rely on skill rather than magic. While capable combatants, they focus on a repertoire of mundane talents that they elevate to something near supernatural. Thieves choose a particular archetype to describe their focus: expert burglar, for example, or cunning woodsman, or learned ruin explorer. While other characters can learn to do the same things they do, others are never as good at it as a thief. Choose this class if you want your hero to be incredibly talented at their chosen expertise. Write down your class abilities. Once you've chosen your class, write down your class abilities on the character sheet given on page 15. To make it easy, just follow the steps given below. Record your initial hit points. For fighters, this is 8. For clerics, it's 6, and for magic users and thieves it's 4. Modify this total by your Constitution attributes modifier. Thus, if you had a 13 Constitution score, you'd add 1 point to the total. Hit points reflect your character's health, stamina, and nearness to defeat. If they drop to 0, your luckless hero will probably die. Only heroes have hit points, monsters and normal people have hit dice instead. Write down your starting attack bonus. This is +1, except for magic users, who have no initial bonus. The higher the bonus, the better your hero is at hitting a target when wielding bow or blade. As your hero advances in level, they'll get better. Each time you advance, you'll add your class advancement bonus to the score. Record your fray die. Your character is a hero, and petty foes should be wary of getting too close. When fighting inferior enemies, you can roll your fray die to kill or injure them. The Playing the Game section has details on how your fray die works. For now, just make a note of it on your character sheet. Once you've picked your class, you're ready to customize your hero by deciding on the unique experiences and training they've received over the course of their past life. It's time to move on to traits. Cleric. Clerics are a special variety of priest, ones gifted with the particular favor of their deities. While common priests are capable of calling down miracles with lengthy prayer and temple rituals, a cleric can summon these marvels with no more than a short invocation. Novice clerics are capable of working some minor miracle once a day, while arch-clerics can invoke dozens of mighty wonders. Clerics can wear any armor, bear shields, and wield any weapon. They do not use them as skillfully as fighters or thieves do, however, and so their damage die is limited to 1d6. Thus, A cleric who swings a battle axe that normally rolls 1d8 damage would instead roll only 1d6. Clerics can cast magical spells, channeling the power of their god. These spells must be prepared daily through prayer and consecration, and once they are cast, the priest must wait until the next day to refresh his powers. Clerics can turn undead, invoking the authority of their patron to end the violation of the natural cycle represented by undead entities. A cleric must choose a particular religious faith, though the gods do not seem to especially care how their favored behave once their gifts have been bestowed. Even truly foul or spiritually indifferent clerics experience no loss of their magical abilities. Most scholars blame the red tide for this spiritual distance, and say that the gods would have more care for the behavior of their chosen if they were better able to reach the world. Fighters are the red-handed warriors of the Isles. Whether a Kuei samurai, Xianese soldier, Skanda sea raider, or simple peasant hero, the fighter excels at battle. While they lack the magical gifts of the cleric or magic user, or the special talents of the thief, they hit harder, last longer, and endure what would kill most other heroes. Fighters can wear any armor, bear shields, and wield any weapon. Fighters are the best at direct combat, and can use any weapon to its full effect. Fighters gain combat skill and hardness more quickly than other classes. Fighters gain a +1 bonus to their attack bonus every time they advance a level, and gain more hit points than any other class. They can take more punishment than other heroes. Fighters have the best fray die. Fighters are particularly dangerous to lesser foes that dare get too close. Their large fray die makes it more likely that they will kill or incapacitate minor enemies that dare to face their blade. A fighter doesn't cast spells or gain special skills unless they later choose to learn the talents of another class. Instead, they solve most of their problems with brute force, raw cunning, and unquenchable vitality. This is not to say that fighters are necessarily stupid or ill-educated, but their strengths are greatest in direct confrontations. Even novice fighters are warriors of skill and fearsome prowess. A lone fighter can hack down a dozen lesser foes before being dragged down. Still, the tales of heroes include their tragic deaths, as well as their great victories, and prudence will prolong any bladesman's life. Magic user. Magic users are the sorcerers, witches, mystics, and hedge wizards of this world. They trade conventional prowess for the mysteries of the arcane, and have the strongest magical powers of any class. A novice magic user's powers are limited, however, and they must take care to survive the perils of gaining greater might. They can't withstand the punishment that a fighter or cleric can, but the wise never have to try. Magic users cannot wear armor or use shields and have little skill with weapons. Armor interferes with their magical abilities, and they have little time to practice their swordplay. While they can use any weapon, their maximum damage die is 1d4. Thus, a wizard shooting a bow would roll only 1d4 for its damage die instead of the usual 1d8. Magic users can cast magical spells, choosing from among the incantations in their spellbook. Magic users start play knowing a number of spells equal to 2 plus their intelligence modifier. Magic users can wield eldritch forces to harm a foe. Their fray die can affect any target, even one stronger than the wizard. Other classes can't use their fray die to harm stronger foes. Every magic user has a spellbook to contain their lore, though this artifact may take the form of tablets, discs, knotted cords, or some other record. As they gain expertise and unearth lost secrets, they add new spells to their book and gain a greater range of occult abilities. A master sorcerer is capable of fantastic feats of magic, striking down dozens of foes at once or crossing 100 leagues in a single step. Thieves are not only the common pickpockets and skulking burglars of the great cities, but also those heroes who rely more upon stealth, cunning, and well-placed blades than direct confrontation. Elusive foresters and adventurous scholars might both fall under the class just as readily as some black-cowled Kuei ninja. Thieves tend to be fairly skilled combatants and lethal ambushers, but they lack the training with heavy armor possessed by their fighter peers. Thieves can use any weapon and can wear leather armor, but cannot use shields. Heavy armor and shields hinder a thief's abilities. They are skilled combatants, but not so much as a fighter. TR weapons damage die is limited to 1d8. Thus, a two-handed sword snatched up by a desperate thief does only 1d8 damage. Thieves are more greatly skilled than other classes, and gain a every 3-point trait in their archetype. At high levels, a thief's abilities are almost supernatural in their perfection. Each time they advance a level, this archetype trait increases by 1 point, even beyond the usual 3-point limit for a trait. Master thieves often have seemingly impossible powers of stealth and infiltration. Thieves can ambush unsuspecting foes. A thief attacking an unsuspecting or unwary target gains a +4 bonus to his attack roll and inflicts triple damage with his weapon and fray die. Thieves should decide what kind of archetype best describes their talents. A stealthy burglar might be one kind of thief with a very different set of talents than a fearless ruin explorer or a grizzled woodsman. Novice thieves start with 3 free points in this trait, and as they advance in experience, they can increase this trait above the usual 3-point maximum. Choose traits. Trait bonuses for race and class. The next step in creating your hero is to choose their traits, those particular backgrounds, skills, and aptitudes that set them apart from others of the same profession. Most characters receive 3 points to spend on their traits, plus whatever their race or class may grant. Traits are a few words to describe something the character has been or is good at doing. Former city watchman, for example, or mighty thews, or erudite scholar, or fleet-footed. Almost any description can serve as a trait, though it's up to the GM to limit those phrases that cover too much ground or imply a past that doesn't fit with the game. Noble-born Daifu would be a perfectly fine trait for some campaigns, while other GMS might find such a concept unsuitable. You can add your highest relevant trait to any checks or saving throws your hero might make. Both checks and saving throws are rolled on 2d8, to which you add your relevant attribute modifier and your highest relevant trait. Saving throws also add your character's level. If the total is equal or higher than the difficulty number determined by the GM, you succeed in accomplishing the act or evading the danger. Characters can spend up to 3 points in a single trait, and can spend points to increase a trait granted by their racial background. A show thief who was a former street urchin might have 3 points in her thief archetype trait of outcast show burglar, and then put 1 point each into pitiful beggar, streetwise information gatherer, and keen danger sense traits, while putting her racial bonus point into boosting her resist the red tide trait. A human fighter, who is a hardy Skander pirate turned wandering chant singer, might take his 3 initial points, and put 2 into pirate reaver, and 1 into iron constitution, while putting his 2 bonus points into the trait of inspiring Skander Scald. His scope of each trait should be clear to both you and the GM. A pirate reaver might apply his trait when sailing, swimming, drinking bad liquor, climbing ropes, identifying ships, or dealing with other pirates, but he wouldn't gain it when trying to trade an honest cargo, or organizing a militia group on land. Traits do not apply to combat roles, such as to hit or damage dice. Someone with the veteran soldier trait might know a great deal about weapons, military organization, dealing with fellow soldiers, and training recruits, but when their sword clears their scabbard they are as reliant on their base attack bonus as anyone else. As you advance in experience, you might pick up more traits that reflect your character's adventures and history. Characters normally receive an additional trait point each time they advance a level, one related to some feat or accomplishment they performed on their way up. Thieves also get an additional trait point added to their specialty every level, even if it increases it beyond the usual 3-point cap. Certain races and classes get bonus points to spend on their traits, either in a specific way or on any trait that fits their character. Humans get 2 bonus points to spend as they wish. Dwarfs get 1 trait point in dwarven senses, which include their ability to see in perfect darkness, their sensitivity to dangerous underground areas, and their recognition of subterranean perils. They also get 1 trait point in the profession their clan intended them to carry on. For males, this is almost always mining, soldiering, or architecture. For females, it is usually some sort of craft work, though anything is permitted to them except the trades exclusive to males. Rebellious dwarfs may select a wrong occupation for their sex, but their home clan is doubtless horrified by their poor life choices. Elves get 1 bonus trait point in their elven senses, reflecting their keen perceptions and their ability to see clearly even in very dim lighting. They also receive a bonus trait point in whatever profession their prior incarnation maintained, as they retain some fragmentary memories of their former lives. Halflings get 1 trait point in halfling stealth, which reflects their quiet nature and unobtrusiveness. They can use this trait whenever they are trying to hide, sneak, or otherwise pass unnoticed. Halfling thieves may spend this point elsewhere if they wish. Halflings also get a free bonus point to spend as they desire. Show-blooded get 1 bonus trait point to spend as they wish and 1 in resist the red tide. While it is little acknowledged among the humans of the Sunset Isles, the show have a remarkable talent for fighting off the dark sorceries of the tide. They can apply this trait to all checks and saving throws involving tide spawn or tide cultists. Show can never be permanently ensorcelled by the tide. Even if they fail a saving throw, they snap out of any curse or transformation a few seconds later. Dead or injured Show, however, will remain that way. Thieves get 3 bonus trait points in their chosen archetype. For many thieves, this will be something like Adventuring Thief, covering skills of stealth, lockpicking, pickpocketing, climbing, and disarming small traps. Other archetypes might be chosen if the GM finds them suitable. They should cover about the same scope of activities, perhaps trading out some for others that better fit the archetype. Using a shield or wearing armor heavier than leather hinders this special trait, however, and such a burden thief cannot use it for any check involving movement or manual grace. Characters of other races, or those with unique classes, may gain bonus points of their own at the GM's discretion, usually 2. Languages and traits. Most humans in the Sunset Isles speak Low Imperial, the common tongue of the dominant ninefold Celestial Empire, before the coming of the Red Tide. Nobles and scholars are also versed in High Imperial, a much more complicated language that replaces the alphabetical brushmarks of Low Imperial with thousands of painted logograms that are believed to have subtle mystical powers. Elves, dwarfs, and halflings all have their native tongues, and the ancient language of the show is not unknown in certain circles. Most humans also speak the native language of their particular ethnicity or culture, though this has died out in favor of Low Imperial in some places. Heroes are assumed to speak and read whichever languages are supported by their backgrounds and chosen traits. Heroes with traits as wanderers or scholars might know enough to get by in a wide variety of tongues, though they may not care to trust their knowledge for delicate diplomacy. Final touches. Character creation summary. Your hero is almost ready for play. Just a few final tweaks are needed before your freebooter is ready to set forth to find fame and glory in the savage world beyond their youthful home. Buy your equipment. Roll 3d6 and multiply it by 10 to find out how many gold coins your hero possesses at the start of the game. You can use this money to buy starting equipment from the tables on the following pages. Make sure to have a stout weapon, and everyone but magic users should consider buying a sturdy suit of armor. Make sure your hero isn't carrying an unreasonable amount of gear on his back. Most adventurers can carry about 60 pounds of gear before they become encumbered, plus or minus 20 more for each point of strength modifier or trait that involves porting heavy loads. Thus, if your hero has a strength of 13 and a trait of former slave labor, 2, she could carry 120 pounds on her mighty shoulders without being slowed. Write down your armor class. Your armor class is the measure of how hard it is to hurt your hero, with the lower the score the better. An ordinary unarmored person is AC 9, while that same man clad in plate armor and carrying a shield is AC 2. Your armor class is based on the armor you're wearing and modified by your hero's dexterity modifier. If your hero is carrying a shield, subtract 1 more point from their AC. A hero's AC is never worse than 9. Note down your weapon details. Write down its damage die, the ranges of missile weapons, and record any ammunition you might be carrying. While you're at it, it's helpful to note down the total attack bonus for the weapon, which is equal to your character's attack bonus plus the modifier of the relevant attribute. Thus, if your thief has a dexterity of 16 and buys a bow, his total attack bonus with it would be +3, the total of his +2 dexterity modifier and +1 attack bonus. Clerics and magic users should pick their spells. For clerics, this is simple. Just turn to the red sorcery section of this book and pick one first-level cleric spell to prepare. You can cast this spell once per day. You can change your choice each morning when you prepare spells. Magic users should do the same, but their choices are more limited. They should pick a number of first-level magic user spells from the list equal to 2 plus their intelligence modifier. These spells are recorded in their spellbook, and they may choose one to prepare each day. To expand their choices, a magic user must advance in skill or find spells elsewhere. Make sure you have an initial goal. Heroes who sit around and wait for adventure to come to them tend to have long, profoundly tedious lives. Your newly minted freebooter is of better stock. Make sure he or she has some immediate goal that will get them out into the world, even if it's something as simple as become fabulously wealthy, or gain renown as the greatest sorcerer in the world. It's fine if this goal should change during the course of play. The important thing is that your hero should always have a reason to go out and do something exciting. If you need help, work with your GM to pick something suitable for your hero. Your hero is now ready to face the world, armed to duel the grim perils that await their flashing blades and thundering sorceries. Converting existing material. One of the purposes of Scarlet Heroes is to allow GMS to easily assimilate material originally intended for use with other games. Almost any game that uses the traditional concepts of hit dice, classes, hit rolls on 1d20 and attacks that inflict damage against hit points can be played with the Scarlet Heroes rule set. If you have an existing old-school module to hand, just run it using the Scarlet Heroes interpretations of damage dice, combat, and saving throws. When the module says that a monster's attack does 1d10, just roll the 1d10 and read it like a normal damage die. If the module gives both hit dice and hit points for a monster, ignore the hit point total and just use its hit dice. If the adventure says that a particular monster's sorceries inflict a -2 penalty on a target's saving throws, just apply that penalty to the Scarlet Heroes saving throw. If an effect causes a flat amount of damage or healing, apply 1 point for every 4 full points in the original effect. Thus, if the adventure text says that the brazen statue vomits flame for 10 points of fire damage on any heathens who approach it, inflict 2 hit points of damage on a hero who gets too close, or 2 hit dice of injury on a foe lured in range. In cases where the module hands out certain doom to an unlucky character, such as an inescapable death curse, or a headlong plunge into a green devil face, use the Defy Death rules to give the hero a chance. In the same way, if the module requires that the hero have a particular set of skills that they don't possess, Defy Death can be used to provide a stroke of luck or handy NPC to get them past the obstacle, assuming they can't come up with their own clever ideas. Many old-school games throw mobs of monsters at an adventurer, trusting that there will be 5 or 6 adventurers to handle the onslaught and spread out the damage. The way that Scarlet Heroes adjusts the damage to monsters and heroes makes these mobs much more survivable for a lone hero than they would be under standard assumptions. And the Frey die guarantees they are going to be automatically chopping down minor foes every round or 2. Still, even an experienced hero can get mauled if they are mobbed by an entire tribe of orcs at once, or engaged by a dozen ogres when they've forgotten their armor at the tavern. As a general rule, you shouldn't feel obligated to change these numbers. Just make sure that the hero is allowed to run for their life if they find discretion the better part of valor, with Defy Death allowing escape from even seemingly hopeless snares. There are plenty of foes a hero can take in most adventures, and it's not your job to make sure they can slaughter every enemy they encounter. Even Conan did his fair share of running away. Your heroes should heed his example. Treasure and magic items can generally be left as described in the adventure, with arcane artifacts interpreted using the Scarlet Heroes systems for damage and saving throws. Magical troves meant to provide goodies to an entire party might be trimmed back a bit. Additional spells for clerics and magic users can be imported with few or no changes. If you're running in a more traditional setting than the included Red Tide capsule setting, you might choose to lift the spell list of another game wholesale, allowing clerics and magic users to pick from those selections rather than the ones given in this book. Optionally, their choices might include spells from both lists, or leave one list to be acquired in the troves of lost lore they liberate from their deceased enemies. Converting to other systems. It may be that the GM wants to use some of the material out of this book with a different old-school game. In such cases it can be lifted with few real changes. Traits are dropped, classes get a hit die equal to their starting hit points, and saving throws are taken from the target game's tables for the closest approximate class. A character's base roll to hit armor class 0 equals 20 minus their attack bonus, rounded to the nearest whole number, while for those games that use ascending armor classes the attack bonus can be rounded and used just as it is. Spellcasting and magic items should move over with no significant changes, though healing spells may require a slight tweak of their amount cured to match conventional hit point scaling. Unique cleric spells can be added into the common spell lists of the appropriate local gods, and new magic user spells can turn up on scrolls or in the plundering of defeated wizards. Playing with multiple players. Scarlet Heroes is meant to be played with just one player character, but it's possible to enlist one or even two more PCs without seriously taxing the math. The addition of one more PC doesn't modify play much. A GM should be able to take them through a standard issue module without it being too easy to be interesting. They'll just do significantly less running away from enemies. If a third PC is added, the GM may wish to increase enemy numbers by half to ensure a good fight. 4 or more PCs isn't really recommended unless the GM intends to put them through a real meat grinder of an adventure. Such a group is likely hacking down 4 to 8 mooks every round with Frey dice alone, and their swords are enough to drop a hill giant in 2 rounds. Still, even this abundance of heroism can be challenged if the GM dishes up enough perils, both monstrous and circumstantial. The problems such heroes face are often the sort that cannot be fought with a sharp sword, and canny wits and keen diplomacy may be more useful than a pile of Frey dice. 24. Checks. To find out if your character can accomplish some daring feat, roll 2d8 and add your most relevant attributes modifier and the highest of your relevant traits. If the final total is equal or greater to the difficulty of the check, you succeed. A natural roll of 2 always fails, and a natural roll of 16 always succeeds if such is even possible. Saving throws. To resist some foul curse, throw off a poison's effects, or dodge some other impending danger, make a check as above and add your character's level to it. Add your Constitution modifier to checks that test your physical stamina, Dexterity to checks that try your agility, and Wisdom to checks involving other, less tangible sorts of magic. At the GM's discretion, some traits may also apply. If you equal or beat a difficulty of 9 plus the danger's level, or caster's hit dice, you resist or minimize the effect, depending on the particular peril. Combat and damage. Heroes always act first in combat. Everyone else rolls 1d8 and adds their dexterity modifier, acting in order of highest to lowest before starting over with the next round. A single round of actions takes about 6 seconds. When it's your turn, you may move up to 30 feet and take one action. An action could be an attack, casting a spell, climbing a barrier, or doing anything else that could be accomplished in 6 seconds. If you forego this action, you can move another 30 feet. Die roll damage 1. 2 to 5. 6 to 9. 10 plus. None. 1 point. 2 points. To attack someone, roll 1d20 and add your relevant attribute modifier, your target's armor class, and your attack bonus. If your attack bonus is fractional, round to the nearest whole number. The relevant attribute is usually either strength or dexterity, depending on whether the weapon is a melee or ranged weapon. If the total is 20 or more, you hit. A natural 1 always misses, and a natural 20 always hits. Traits never add to combat or damage rolls. 4 points. If you hit, roll the damage dice for your weapon, adding your relevant attribute to the die. If you're rolling multiple dice, add any damage bonuses to only one die of your choice. For each die that comes up 1, you do no damage. For each die that returns 2 to 5, you do 1 point, each of 6 to 9 does 2 points, and each of 10 plus does 4 points. If the attack hits a hero, subtract the damage from their hit points. If the attack hits someone else, subtract the damage from their hit dice. Creatures reduced to 0 hit points or hit dice are defeated, mortally wounded, or dead. If a blow does more damage to a target than is necessary to kill it, you may assign the rest of the damage to any other valid target in range with equal or worse armor class. After a fight, you can pause for 5 minutes to bandage your wounds and rest, restoring up to 2 hit points of damage you lost in the fray. The Fray die. Each round you're in combat, you can roll your Fray die to harm a single enemy within reach of your weapons, provided they don't have more hit dice than you have character levels. You may do this even if you don't use your action to attack, as the fray die represents the blows you deliver casually in passing. Roll the die and read its damage, as given above in the combat section. Apply this to any valid target in range, with excess damage overflowing to another valid target. You may apply your fray die at any point during your turn, before or after you act or move. The bolts and blights of a magic user's fray die can harm any foe, even one with more hit dice than the hero has levels. Casting spells. To cast a spell in combat, the caster must declare their intention at the start of the round. If they are hurt or jostled before their turn comes up, the spell is lost. If the situation changes, such as to make a spell undesirable by the time their turn comes up, they can use their action to relax their will and abort the spell without losing it from memory. Hit difficulty for a saving throw against a spell is equal to 9 plus the caster's hit dice or character level, plus the highest of any relevant traits. Multiclassed characters use the caster's full character level to determine the puissance of their spells, as with any spell effects such as damage dice or area of effect. Spells that do multiple dice of damage count them in the same way as weapon damage dice. A result of 1 is no damage, 2 to 5 is 1 point, 6 to 9 is 2 points, and 10 plus is 4. Turning undead. Heroes blessed with the power of a cleric have the ability to turn undead, smiting restless spirits and animated corpses, and forcing them to return to the natural cycle of life and death. A cleric can turn undead as often as once every 5 minutes. A cleric attempting to turn undead may use their action to target any and all undead within 30 feet of the priest. The cleric rolls a 1d8 fray die for each cleric level he has, dividing up the damage as they wish among any valid targets in the area. A cleric uses his full character level to determine what undead foes these fray dice can harm. Clerics who serve the infernal powers or other dark gods may command these accursed spirits rather than destroying them. TR turning attempts do no damage. Instead, undead that would otherwise be destroyed by a dark priest's turning are enslaved and forced to obey their new master until they are destroyed or freed. A dark cleric can bind no more hit dice worth of undead than thrice their total levels or hit dice. Defying death. When a hero is faced with a hopeless circumstance, impassable barrier, failed saving throw, or other grim fate, they may defy death, trading some of their vigor for a stroke of miraculous luck or deep inner resilience. To defy death, the hero rolls a 1d4 damage die for each of their character levels, counting damage as given in the combat section. If it does enough to otherwise kill them, they struggle through with 1 hit point, but are affected by whatever grim doom they were trying to evade. Otherwise, they take the damage and away past the problem or throw off the effect. Each time a hero defies death, during an adventure the die size rolled for the next attempt increases by 1 step to d6, then d8, then d10, up to a maximum of d12. The die size resets when the hero succeeds in conquering the adventure or gives up and seeks glory elsewhere. Injury and healing. Heroes at 0 hit points will die. Heroes heal a number of hit points equal to their level after each night of rest. If the hero is in a safe, comfortable place and is aided by a physician or their own relevant medical traits, they may heal double this amount by spending a full day recuperating depending on the hero. This bonus healing benefit may also be gained by debauchery and wildly excessive drinking.